Hi, Treehouse friends. It's Miss Jenny again, and I'm reading another book that is a legend about Michigan. This one is The Legend of Mackinac Island, and I'm reading this one to you because Mackinac Island is one of my favorite places to visit. If you've had a chance to visit there, I can't wait to hear all about it. The Legend of Mackinac Island. This is by Kathy Jo Wargan, different author than our last legend book. And again, a legend is a story that's been passed down for many, many years. These legends have been passed down from Indians from Michigan. Long ago, Earth was a quiet place covered entirely with water. There were no mountains or valleys, there were no forests or meadows, there was nothing but one brilliant blue sea, a dark murky bottom far, far below. But life upon the giant world of water was dazzling and bright, filled with rustling waves, splashing of ducks, and the jumping of quick, silvery fish. There were many animals here, and their days were filled with laughter and friendship. Remember our duck that we had at the treehouse moving around? In the morning, loons carried soft, downy chicks on their backs, keeping them warm and dry. In the afternoon, otters played silly games upon the water, rolling their long bodies between the curves of the waves. Downing chicks means they're fluffy, their fur. Here's the otters. And while the other animals played, beavers bustled back and forth, slapping their flat and shiny tails upon the water. All around them, wee little muskrats tried to keep pace, their small, flat paws paddling eagerly against the waves. My favorite is the turtle. In the midst of the fast and playful animals was one special creature who was quiet and slow. His name was Mackinac, and he was one of the oldest, wisest, and largest painted turtles to live in the great blue water. Every day Mackinac floated upon the water in a calm and steady way. As he floated, he would lift his large wrinkled neck into the air, blink his deep round eyes. Mackinac carried the wisdom of centuries in his words and always greeted his friends with a slow, upward smile. The animals were always delighted when Mackinac floated by, because if they were cold or tired, he would let them climb on his back to rest in the warm afternoon sun. If they were sad, he would sing sweet and happy songs to cheer them. And sometimes, when the air was still and the moment was just right, all the animals would gather around Mackinac and listen carefully as he told them wonderful stories about the great world of water. One day Mackinac swam steadily toward the other animals. His old weathered face appeared quite serious, and in a low, broad voice he told the animals how the great spirit of the sky said that now was one time to build a beautiful piece of land for all the animals to rest upon. Mackinac then told the animals that one of them must dive to the depths of the water and bring up one handful of rich, wet soil and place it upon his back. This, said Mackinac, would be the beginning of a brand new world. The animals chattered with excitement, and the wise old turtle raised his head and spoke clearly to all of them. I shall give you a special home upon my weathered back, where the rivers run beneath the sun in red and gold and black. To rest upon the water blue, a land so new, a land so new. Naturally, Loon wanted to be the first to try because she was the most loyal of all creatures and was willing to prove her devotion. She pulled her broad wings tightly to her back, stretched her long, graceful neck, and pointed herself toward the bottom of the world. Moments later, she was up again without a grain of soil in her bill. Disappointed, she hopped abroad Mackinac's back to dry her feathers in the sun. This is the bird's bill. It's the beak. Beaver, the most resourceful and hardest working of all the animals, decided that he should be the next to try. He stiffened his back and twitched his nose, and with a loud slap of the tail, dove deep toward the bottom of the world. Small waves rolled over the spot where the beaver disappeared. A little while later, he rose to the surface holding nothing in his paws. He climbed on Mackinac's back and closed his eyes in sadness. Then Otter decided it was her turn to try, and with a twist and a turn and a flip of the tail, she plunged into the depths below. Otter bobbed up to the surface several times, each time diving deeper and deeper. Eventually, she reappeared with no soil in her forefeet. She slipped onto the great turtle's back and let out a long sigh. The animals rested quietly on Mackinac's back, feeling very sad. They were sitting there, Muskrat came swimming by, and the weary animals told him about the struggle to grab a handful of soil from the bottom of the world. Muskrat was eager to help his friend, so he told Mackinac, the other animals, that he would dive to the dark and murky bottom below. Loon, Beaver, and Otter laughed loudly because Muskrat was the smallest and the most humble of creatures. His paws were tiny and his back was weak. Surely he would fail. But Mackinac did not laugh because he was kind and wise, because he was a good friend to all the animals. He smiled at Muskrat and nodded his head in a slow, gentle way, approving of Muskrat's offer. But the animals were still doubtful as they watched Muskrat take one long, deep breath, filling his cheeks until they could not hold no more. And to their dismay, the little muskrat closed his eyes and dove into the water. Splish, splash, swish. Little round bubbles popped up all around him, and he made his way to the dim bottom far below. Loon, Beaver, Otter peered into the water, certain that Muskrat would never reach the bottom. They knew the journey was long and dark, and they believed he would return quickly with no soil. They waited, and they watched, but no Muskrat. The animals waited some more, but no Muskrat. Time passed, and they began to worry. They felt sad that they had laughed so cruelly at their little friend, and Loon let out a mournful cry. No Muskrat. Beaver folded his busy hands and he lowered his broad dark face. No Muskrat. Otter stiffened her body and sat straight still and unusually serious. No Muskrat. And as they waited, dusk began to fall, and the water shimmered in the fading sunlight, and the animals searched every wave and swell. They listened to each splash and ripple, hoping to see Muskrat, but he did not reappear. The sky began to fill with the whisper of clouds, and all of the animals were hushed with sadness. A giant tear rolled slowly out of the corner of Mackinac's eye. Loon, Beaver, and Otter saw the tear slip down the great turtle's cheek and began to weep softly in the moonlight for the loss of their friend and the hope of a new land. But just then, whoosh, popped up Muskrat. He flew to the top of the water with tremendous force, and his body was trembling with all of his might. His eyes were open wide, and his cheeks were nearly blue, but wedged in his grasp of his small furry paws was a rich dark soil that needed to make the beautiful new land. Hooray! Hooray! Mackinac nodded his large round head in approval and said, I give to you a special place, where sunshine crowns the land, where flowers bloom like brilliant jewels, everywhere you stand. To float upon the water blue, a home for you, a home for you. All the animals watched in awe as Muskrat tossed the soil upon the giant turtle's back. Magically, the soil grew and grew and grew all around them. Rocks and trees and flowers appeared, and sunlight poured down upon the bright new land, growing in the middle of the deep blue water. And as the island blossomed, the low, quiet voice of Mackinac could be heard all around. Time will now stand still, my friends, with an island rich and rare. And though we must part, deep in our heart, my presence will always be there. A special land that's edged in blue. I leave this for you, I leave this for you. The animals were happy to have such a lovely place to rest. It was a beautiful and splendid island, a glistening paradise of peace and friendship. As the animals admired their new home, they noticed that Mackinac was gone. They began to miss the turtle very much, so in the spirit of his new friendship, they talked about how kind and wise he was, and how he always shared his back as a place to rest. As they talked, they realized that Mackinac was not really gone, because they saw his large round back in the shape of the island. They heard his deep, familiar voice through the rocks that lined the shore, and with every wave and billow, they heard the old friend say, I give to you this brilliant land, a place for peace and rest. Many forest paths and gentle waves you call you as their guest. May sunshine drip like honey gold and sweetness fill the air. Many diamonds fall upon the lake and always glimmer there. I leave with you an island home, my sweet and treasured friends, forever there upon my back where splendor never ends. And so, to honor the wise old friend, they called their beautiful new land Mackinac Island, the place of the great turtle's back. So that, my friends, is another legend, a story passed down years and years ago from the Indians of Michigan to us as a story to learn about our state and one of my favorite places, Mackinac Island.